Good morning, YouTube. Outside again, enjoying the fresh air and some quiet. So hopefully we can get through this. So the last video I did on like rules and why you want to read through them was to see if you needed to change the rule just a little bit to make the role playing better. And it also, what I want to touch on too, is it allows you to adjust the difficulty of the game. And I understand this can be difficult if it's a new game. You may have to do what I call the test run, where you play the first session, rules are written. No matter how much it interferes with the role playing, you're not going to be great. Your role players are going to be doing the best they can, hopefully, to role play, but there's new rules for everybody. And then you do the after session and you guys talk about how that went, what you liked, what you didn't like. And if you do that, you got to be honest with each other, and you got to be able to put your egos aside. It just comes down to that. Because this is critiquing yourself and others to improve the gameplay and not personal attacks. You got to know the difference. All right? If you can't self-critique, like if you don't know you're messing up role-playing, I don't know what to tell you. But usually you do. You know where parts of the game drag, stuff like that. And you should be asking the questions, why? What did I do? What did the players do? How did the game mechanics interfere? Make things slower. Make things not fun. And I know people hate that word. I don't know why. But maybe it's just because they think when people say fun, they mean easy, or they mean path of least resistance, or doing it the same old way, or I don't know. For me, it's keeping the action going, keeping the role playing going, keeping things moving, keeping the story going, and not having our faces buried too much looking up rules. In a role playing game. In a tactical game, where we're getting the rulers out, right? Maybe not. I've just reached that point in my life where I think, yeah, the way I was doing it when I was a little kid, that was the right way. Why did I ever let adults talk me into something else? So, yeah, it's okay. Adults, question when you changed your mind about stuff, and it's okay to go back and go, wait a minute, I think I was doing it right, the original way I was doing it, but it's okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about going in and adjusting the dial a little bit. For me, I'm adjusting the dial on death and injuries, and this is a work in progress, and I will play it. I'll test it out somehow to see how I like it to go. But this has to do with game mechanics first. But there's a purpose to the game mechanics. I want them to work the way I want them to work, and I want to create role-playing opportunities with the game mechanics, not the game mechanics interfering with the role-playing. And another thing, doesn't mean I'm anti-death. If you've watched, I had like 5 videos in a row, like Death Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, about why death, it can be a good thing, especially in a fantasy game where you can do afterlife and all this stuff. I mean, you can go gonzo. Death has its place. It definitely has its place in a game, any game, for player characters. The players need to realize their player character can die. Skin in the game. Otherwise, they will do the craziest, stupid stuff and expect to survive. I'm holding a tactical nuclear weapon. I'm going to set it off. I'll be okay. No, you're getting vaporized. All right? What do you mean? I can't die. Yeah, you can. So, In FrontierSpace, they use the term body points. That's basically hit points. Okay, guys? They calculate it differently, of course, according to their game rules. But, it's the amount of damage you can take, your character can take before they're dead. Get to 0 in the game, you're probably going to die. You don't want to get to 0. And the rules as they're written off the top of my head, because I got my notes and then I have the rules, but I'm messing with the rules a little bit. You get to make a save using your strength as your number you don't want to exceed, because it does a descending style roll. And if you save, you live, and I think you might even get a 1 body point back. I'm not that generous, and you wake up, I'll have to double check that, but I read through it and said, nah, I'm making some changes, and I started scribbling away. So in my game, if you get to 0, you go unconscious. Nobody else in the adventuring group will know whether you're dead or alive that round. And since it's unlikely that somebody was proactive, let's put it, somebody else was proactive towards your character, going, gee, my buddy over there has been shot 3 times. I bet they need some medical aid. I doubt they're going to do that when they're first learning to play the game. They'll do it eventually, because this scenario will probably happen. No one's worried about their buddy. When in real life, if you saw your friend shot 3 times and they're super hurt, you would be trying to help them, right? Before they fall unconscious. But for some reason in role-playing games, I'm fine, it's just a flesh wound. I can go 100%. Maybe if they were on some mind-altering, physiologically altering drugs, sure. Yeah. I know what that stuff can do to you, but if they're not, most people, when they get stabbed, slashed at, hacked at, clubbed multiple times, beat down, and shot, no, they're just not jumping around like there was nothing wrong. I'm just being real, man. It just, most of the time, that's not what happens. Most of the time, you get shot once, they're in trouble. If it's an actual decent hit, even if it's not fatal, they're in trouble. So, yeah. But I know it's fantasy. Heroes can get shot up. We've all seen the action films, right? They defy reality. But I do think there should be consequences. So there'll be a whole thing where I work on injuries and how I think losing body points will affect what the player can do. So, in some ways I'm making more rules, but I'm making rules that make sense to me, because they're house rules, and that doesn't necessarily say I'm changing things the way you think I am. So what are we doing? So at 0, because it's unlikely that the rest of the people, they've already said what they're all going to do. And nobody said, I'm going to go check out my friend who's been shot 3 times, but still conscious, right? We'll give them backup, be there with them. They're doing their own thing, right? When that player character hits 0, they go unconscious. So they're not going to be able to do anything until the next round, until the round rolls around. They're just going to be laying there going, oh, I hope somebody helps me, right? Now, Next round, the players will have an opportunity to go help their friend, start working their way over to help their friend, but their friend has to do what we would call in D&D a saving throw. They call it, I think they call it a ability check. They call it something else, but if you play D&D, translation, saving throw. But it's against their abilities, so they're going to do a strength roll, and if they save, they're not stable, but they're not dead. In other words, they didn't die. Okay, they're going to be stabilized, a little bit. If they don't save, in the rules as written, I think they die. And what I'm changing is based on the roll of the dice, and I have a little formula I worked out. They get so many rounds for their friends to get to them. They're now bleeding out. They're now taking negatives that I'm not going to track because it's based on rounds, not how many body points they've lost. If their friends can get to them, when their friends can get to them, they might be able to save the person who should be dead. If the person's saved, they're just automatically stabilized. But they still need medical aid. All right, they're not going to be like jumping up and like, yes, I can now go forth in battle like there was nothing wrong with me on one body point. That's not happening. It's not happening in my game. So I'm tweaking the rules, and I'm going to play test it a little bit to make sure I like it how it is. Now, I borrowed the rounds until death when you get to 0 from Index Card role-playing game, which uses D20 type mechanics, but their own take on it, right? Because I like it. I like the fact that it creates drama. Like, everybody knows there's something, their friend's down, and I'm not saying that the friend's dead or alive. I'm just saying, your friend is on the ground and they're not moving. Sort of description is what's going to come out of me. So they have to go find out if their friend's alive or dead. And I roll the dice. Everybody will see the dice because the player actually is going to roll to save themselves or attempt to. And if they don't save, everybody will know how many rounds they have to get to their friend. Can they even get to them in that number of rounds? Like the race is on while whatever is going on that hurt their friend, whether that's because a boulder fell on him or he got in a shootout, doesn't make a difference. They still need help, right? So that should create some drama. Then depending on who gets there, whether they have medical training or not, there's still going to be a way for those people to help their friend, whether they have the necessary medical equipment or they don't. And so I'm going to also borrow from that game the Don't Die on Me rule, where the player who's trying to help their friend really has to say something like, stay with me, don't die on me, man, something like that. And make a successful roll. If they make a successful roll, as I've outlined in here, against the modifiers I'm going to have outlined, then they stabilize their friend. Now, it doesn't mean their friend's conscious, but it does mean that they're not dying. They've bought them some more time. So, and I did all that because I didn't want it to be not a dramatic situation where it just becomes the slog fest on both ends. I want to create some kind of life preserver, but at the same time have it be variable and create edge. But characters could still die. So that was my thinking there. But I got to test it out a little bit, and I probably will do that. So, and I think I'm being paid. So, like, subscribe, comment, talk to you later. Bye.